Okay, so time to address the kinda sorta elephant in the room. I would like to apologise here and now, folks, for the fact that this episode of the Speedy Stuff Podcast is a week behind schedule. It was there. I'm sorry, my tongue has just had a major malfunction. Let me try that again. I'm acutely aware of the fact that it should have gone up on the 8th of September, which was last Friday. But unfortunately, I was just far too busy at all last week just, to actually sit down and record the podcast, which is ironic because I'm standing here to record the third episode. But the point here in that I'm attempted to make is that I was extremely busy. I tried producing a video review because, that's what my main channel was about originally. It was about video reviews, so holy shit, we're doing that again. And unfortunately, that's been delayed as well until further notice because I watched the footage back in Windows Movie Maker. Yes, I still use Windows Movie Maker, shun me if you wish. And all the footage was just completely terrible. It was far too dark. I was watching back the sort of first draft, I guess you could call it, of the finalized video, and I thought to myself, I can't show this. I just cannot show this. Half the footage, you can't even see the subject of the review. So as a result, that review has been pushed back until further notice. I'm not going to say what said review is about because, well, to quote Alex Kingston's character from Doctor Who, spoilers, but yeah. That said, however, I'm going to stop with this opening monologue and get on with the main podcast itself. Good day, one and all, and to one and all, a good day. My name is Speedy of the Speedy Stuff Podcast, welcoming you to the third episode of the aforementioned Speedy Stuff Podcast. We've made it an entire 3 episodes further than I originally anticipated. Ain't that fucking depressing? I digress. I'm going to be doing that an awful lot in this episode if previous attempts at recording this episode of the podcast is anything to go off of. And again, I digress. It's started already. Anyways, episode 3 of the podcast, we are going to be discussing something that I hold near and dear to me. What we're discussing is a pair of shows that, well, one of which I've actually watched on and off since I was like 4-5 years old. The other show I've only just started watching recently because, well, it's only just within the last couple of years that it's been brought back to life. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's edition of the Speedy Stuff Podcast, I will be talking about Robot Wars and its US counterpart, BattleBots. Oh my good god. Where, honestly, do I begin with these two shows? They're like 2 of the most popular robotic combat television shows of all time, if not the 2 most popular robotic combat shows of all time. Quick backstory in relation to Robot Wars. I will admit, I know what I'm talking about more in relation to Robot Wars than I do with BattleBots. So if you're someone who prefers BattleBots over Robot Wars, this is me apologising in advance. But I digress. Again. Oh dear. We're not even 5 minutes in and I've digressed like a half dozen times. This is going well. This is going very well. Anyway, yes, Robot Wars. Robot Wars started as a pair of live arena events back in, I think I'm correct in saying it was 1994 and 1995. Both took place in the San Francisco Bay Area. And during I think it was the World Championships of the 1995 show, an executive for BBC UK just so happened to be there. And they managed to record some footage of the show, brought it back to the UK, showed it to some bigwigs here at the UK's BBC, and they all turned around and went, "Yeah, we can make a weekend TV show out of this." And thus, Robot Wars, as we knew it, was born. Basically, 1997, I think it was. It was either 1997 or 1998. The first season of Robot Wars, simply titled Robot Wars: The First Wars, is broadcast. It was a 6-episode season, and it actually had former Top Gear UK presenter, now the Grand Tour presenter, Jeremy Clarkson, frontlining the show. That's right, Jeremy Clarkson, the Jeremy Clarkson, the same Jeremy Clarkson who punched a BBC executive, used to host Robot Wars. I'll give you all a couple of seconds to let that sink in. Alright, you've had your couple of seconds. Anyway, wow, I'm an asshole. Anyway, but yeah, Jeremy Clarkson used to present Robot Wars. Who'd have thunk it? Jeremy Clarkson of all people. So that happened. And of course, you know, the first season of Robot Wars, not only did we get introduced to Jeremy Clarkson as the presenter, we were introduced to Philippa Forrester as the pit reporter. We were introduced to Jonathan Pierce as the match commentator. And of course, we were introduced to possibly the most badass part of Robot Wars. The house robots, in the form of Matilda, Shunt, Dead Metal, and Sergeant Bash. I pray I've got that correct. Yeah, I think I've got that correct. But, yeah, who doesn't love the house robots? You know what I'm saying? And, yep, there we go again. I digress. Oh dear. But, yeah, this is all improv. Can you tell? But, so yeah, that happened. As I said, Robot Wars: The First Wars was a 6-episode season. And naturally, of course, the robots that were competing, or at least the robots that made it to the final, they weren't anything overly enthusiastic in relation to their designs. For example, the Robot Wars, the First Wars champion robot, Roadblock, was a street side roadworks sign. You know the ones, you'll be like driving down the road and it'll say Roadworks 200 yards or something like that. And then it'll probably be followed up with Merge in Lane or something. It was basically one of those signs with a pair of wheels stuck up its arse. And it won. I'm completely smitten as you are. Which sucks, actually, because there was one really good robot. Well, good to a degree. I guess it would have been pretty good as, like, a shoving robot called Robot the Bruce. It was literally just a big translucent box. And I think if, like, I can't remember now, was one of the arena challenges in the First Wars the sumo? I think it might have been. I don't recall it doing very well in any of the arena challenges, but ho-hum. So yeah, that happened. Moving on then to the Second Wars, which was broadcast in 1990. Roadblock goes back to try and defend the title, only to lose to a robot called Panic Attack. Now, if you've been following my main channel for a lengthy period of time, and in turn if you've been following Robot Wars, then you will actually know that both myself and the Panic Attack team actually share something in common. We're both from South Wales. Way. Sorry, I'm letting my patriotism show again. So yeah, that happened. Panic Attack came along, kicked Roadblock's ass, and ran away with the title, basically. Cut to the Third Wars. Now, the Third Wars was where I started watching the show. Because I was like, I must have been 5, 6 years old, 4 years old at the youngest, when I first started watching Robot Wars. I seem to recall it was on every Saturday. I used to go up to my grandparents' place with my mum, and I used to go, come on, let's go, Robot Wars is on, and we'd turn it on, we'd watch it, and I was glued to the fucking television set, basically. If I wasn't watching Robot Wars when I was like 4 to 6 years old, something was wrong. Because basically, Robot Wars was the in thing when I was in my first few years of primary school. And the rule in my class was, if you didn't watch Robot Wars, you were a nobody. I watched Robot Wars, which meant somehow I was a somebody. I don't know how, I just was. Roll with it. And so yeah, that happened. Anyways, point is that Panic Attack went back, tried to defend the title, and lost to an extremely powerful flipper robot called Chaos 2. That name might sound extremely familiar to all of you. If it does, I'm hardly surprised. If it doesn't, go watch Robot Wars, you'll get what I mean. But yeah, and of course, whilst I remember as well, regressing back to Robot Wars, the second Wars, Heat D, so episode 4, we got introduced to possibly one of the most badass competitor robots of all times, Razor. We got introduced to Razor, and suddenly everybody shit themselves. Because Razor managed to push Shunt right across the arena, which was insane. No competitor robot had ever pushed a house robot that great a distance before. They all saw Razor do that and thought, yeah, we need to pay attention to these guys. And then they saw Razor break down against Inquisitor, and they thought, did we say we need to worry about Team Razor? Fuck 'em. And that was Razor. But the third Wars also introduced Hypnodisc. And Hypnodisc's debut episode was one of the first episodes that I ever saw. So it was actually about, I think it might have been like the halfway point of the third Wars. I can't recall. And the first fight that Hypnodisc did was against this robot. I can't remember the name of it. It was supposed to have like a flipper arm or something that didn't work. But the point is that Hypnodisc came along, it saw the exoshell and went, watch this, and it just completely tore the exoshell off this one robot. And suddenly everyone started looking at Hypnodisc, and they thought, yeah, we need to look at that robot and back away slowly. The alternative was, if we stay still enough, maybe it won't see us. That was the alternative. But yeah, unfortunately though, Hypnodisc didn't win the third Wars. As I stated prior to now, Chaos 2 won the third Wars. Hypnodisc actually came second. It's not too shabby, let's be honest. Cut then to Robot Wars, the fourth Wars, which was broadcast in 2000 and something. And Chaos 2 actually comes back to defend the title and runs away with the title again. Chaos 2 is actually, to this day, the only robot in Robot Wars history to have won a season of Robot Wars consecutively. Which, you know, naturally was unheard of back then, and for better or worse, it's still unheard of to this day. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Yeah, there we go. But, yeah, the fourth Wars as well also saw the introduction of possibly one of the more controversial robots. Said robots being Pussycat. Now, I say that it was controversial not because of its design, not because of who was on the team, not the way the robot operated, which was effectively on its side. No. I say that Pussycat was controversial because of the spinning disc weapon that Pussycat had. Basically, there's this, I think it might have actually been Pussycat's debut Heat, I can't remember. But Pussycat went out in Heat something, made it through to the last fight of the show, and they thought, why don't we try our hardened steel blade? Now, for those of you who don't know, back in the day, I don't know if it still applies, but back in the day, hardened steel blades of any shape or size were illegal in the Robot Wars arena because they would shatter just like that. They would shatter on impact. Team Pussycat claimed they didn't know this. They fitted a hardened steel blade to their machine, went and did the final fight. They missed the robot that they were fighting. Their blade struck against the arena wall. I think I'm getting all of this correct. The point is that the blade shattered upon impact. And as a result, one of the officials pulled them to the side at the end of the show and went, look, we've reviewed the footage. We noticed that you used an illegal weapon. We're going to have to ban you from the rest of the Fourth Wars. Pussycat actually got banned from Robot Wars for the entirety of the season. Which I can understand. I think that happened in the Fourth Wars. If it happened in like the Fifth Wars or something, I'm going to look like a massive moron. But, ho-hum, someone is continuously buzzing me on my phone. Oh, it's Tumblr. Not Tumblr, even Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm cool. If you want to follow me on Twitter, there might be a link in the description. I don't know yet. Anyways, wow. Shameless plugs and me digressing. That seems to be this podcast in a fucking nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? I digress. This is going terribly. But yes, as I was saying, fast forward then to the Fifth Wars, and we get Chaos 2 coming back to once again try and defend their title, see if they can make it a hat-trick, and they blew it. Chaos 2 don't win it. Razor actually wins it, and I think I'm correct in saying that the Fifth Wars as well introduced Tornado, who was, just like Pussycat, an extremely controversial machine, because, well, what was it the Tornado was supposed to do again? That's not me playing funny buggers, that's me asking a legit question. What was it the Tornado was supposed to do again? I mean, other than bellyache at the fact that they had their asses handed to them by Razor fair and square. No, seriously, actually, go and watch that fight. Team Tornado bitch about it so much. Basically, Razor and Tornado go at it in one of the fights. Razor manages to pin Tornado. You know, they drive them around the arena, giving it all, hey, we got him, watch this, we're going to throw him down the pit. They activate the pit. They try and drop Tornado off their spike, off the tip of their arm. And basically, for the entirety of that fight afterwards, Team Tornado turned around and went, oh, Razor never let us go. Razor never let us go. We should have won that. It's fixed. It's fixed. Bullshit, Team Tornado. Bullshit. And I'm sorry, what was your weapons again? Oh yeah, a giant frame to basically bullshit your way past Razor. A spinning drum, which was arguably the most effective weapon that Tornado had, barely, and a fucking snowplow. What, were they looking to go into construction afterwards? Were they looking to send Tornado into a fucking quarry? What the fuck? Anyway, point is that Razor actually won the Fifth Wars, which, you know, that basically, as soon as it was announced that Razor had won the Fifth Wars tournament, every Razor fan globally just looked at Razor, looked at Team Razor holding the trophy, and jizzed. And that was the Fifth Wars. The Sixth Wars, Razor go back, try and defend it, which I will admit, given all the technical difficulties that Razor has been known to have, easier said than done. Unsurprisingly, though, again, I think it was because of a mechanical defect that the machine suffered, Razor didn't win it. They actually came second. and they lost, ironically, to Tornado, which bumped their annoying egos to no avail. I kid you not. Team Tornado were possibly one of the most annoying teams in Robot Wars history. They really were, because they would bitch about anything on the show. They would bitch about it if they won, they would bitch about it if they lost, they would bitch about it if their robot took damage, they would bitch about it if their robot didn't take damage. I mean, for fuck's sakes, what were they expecting? It's Robot Wars. God's truth. Anyways, the 7th Wars then comes along in, I think it was 2003? I can't recall. And at this point, Channel 5 had bought Robot Wars from the BBC. Oh my god. This was possibly one of the biggest mistakes that the BBC have done since cancelling Doctor Who back in 1996. Only to then bring it back 9 years later, which was, happy days. I digress. Point is that Channel 5 really didn't know what they were doing with Robot Wars. Seriously, go and see some of the promo material that Channel 5 did for it. They did not know what they were doing, because the promotional material was bloody awful for it. It really honestly was. It was like, whoever did the marketing for Robot Wars when it was owned by Channel 5, I hope someone had a word with them. A very long, very serious word. Because it was awful. It really honestly was. I digress. The 7th Wars actually had a bit of an incentive to winning it. Whereas with every other season of Robot Wars, the incentive was, oh hey, check it, you get a trophy. And global recognition among robotic combat. The 7th Wars had three incentives basically. A trophy, recognition among the robot fighting, the robot combat scene, and a cash prize of £50,000, which, depending how well off you are financially, doesn't sound like an awful lot. Simultaneously, it sounds like a huge amount. Again, depending how you are financially. I digress once again. That was pretty much it. Silence then for about 12, 13 years. And then suddenly, early 2006, I think I was a fortnight past my 20th birthday, I can't remember. The BBC came forward and went, hey, guess what we're bringing back? Yeah, we're bringing Robot Wars back, bitches. Praise us! And we did. We all praised the BBC. As soon as they announced that they were bringing Robot Wars back, we basically got down on our knees and sucked the big corporate dick of the BBC. And we fucking loved it. Season 8 came back sort of like the 3rd quarter of 2016, I'm correct in saying, so autumn or fall if you live in the States.